People who are silent about narcissistic abuse, people who are silent about abuse in general, they will not protect you and they will not protect your children. I got married at 28 and I'm divorcing at 29, part 12. Now, I've gotten a lot of comments commending me for my strength and my ability to block my father, who is a narcissist, and my ability to separate myself from family members who have shamed me for speaking out about the narcissistic abuse that I've faced. I have no issue cutting off people who want me to be silent about the abuse that I've faced, and I have no issue cutting off people who are silent about abuse. I've even had a friend of mine who considered herself my best friend try to shame me for speaking out about the narcissistic abuse that I faced. And I've cut her off because situations like this really show you people's true colors. And anyone who's in the business of shaming someone for speaking out about the abuse that they've faced is not somebody that I want in my life. Why? Because I don't trust you. I don't trust the family members who choose to be silent about the abuse that they witnessed within the family. There are so many women and men within my family who've experienced abuse, and not just narcissistic abuse, but physical abuse, sexual abuse. And others in the family turned a blind eye and encouraged them to be quiet about it to protect the family image. Now, when you come from a narcissistic family and when you come from a family dynamic where your father has narcissistic personality disorder, anybody who doesn't agree with him in the family, he is ready to call them mentally unstable. That is just his go-to. Anybody who disagrees with anything that he says, he's ready to ostracize them, and he starts to call up others in the family, and he creates a narrative that makes them look like the bad guy. So if you don't submit to my father's control within the family, he's going to start a smear campaign on you, just like I've told you. He's going around telling people that my job is corn, even though I'm a lifestyle content creator. What he's doing right now is he's going around to everyone in the family. He's going around to the people within his churches. He pastors a church in Virginia and a church in DC, because I've spoken out about his narcissistic behavior and him filing a false police report on me, calling a mental health facility and telling them a lie in order to get them to harass me. He's going around telling the people at his churches, telling others in the family that I'm unstable. And so until I submit to his control, he's going to continue that smear campaign. Now, this has worked for him for pretty much his entire life. I told you that he's 64 and he turned 65 in November. Anyone in the family at all that doesn't want to submit to his control, he's ready to gaslight them and he's ready to love bomb them. And if those techniques don't work, he launches a smear campaign. His own siblings have never held him accountable for his behavior, and his entire family has just let him get by without any real accountability. Now, I believe that people who are silent about abuse in any form are just as dangerous as those who commit abuse. When you are born into a family with a dynamic of a narcissistic father, like I have, and a mother who ultimately didn't fully choose herself, she's chosen to be silent about the narcissistic abuse that she's faced, the control, the manipulation. And there are others in the family who have seen what's been happening and they've chosen to just turn a blind eye. People who are silent about narcissistic abuse, people who are silent about abuse in general, they will not protect you and they will not protect your children. If you think that your narcissistic family will change overnight, you're delusional. I have no issue cutting off anyone in my family. I have no issue cutting off any friend who has an issue with me speaking out about narcissistic abuse, whether it came from my family members, including my father, or from the man that I married. If you have an issue with someone speaking out about abuse, that says more about you. Ask yourself the question, why do I have an issue with someone speaking out about the abuse that they faced? What am I hiding? What am I protecting? Because I shouldn't be this triggered. Any decent human being who lives in truth and honesty will never have a problem with somebody speaking out about the abuse that they faced, whether it's in person or on the internet. I don't want people in my life who protect darkness. If you protect abuse, if you protect control and manipulation for the sake of family or for the sake of religion, I don't want you in my life. When I have kids in the future, I don't want you around my children. If you're the type of person to encourage silence around abuse in any form, I do not want you around my children. I want better for the next generation because they deserve better. The next generation deserves adults who are willing to speak up, adults who are willing to be honest. The next generation doesn't need another set of adults who are more concerned with the family image than they are with truth. We've been there and done that. And clearly I had to be the one to break the generational curse. I had to be the one who divorced the narcissist. I had to be the one to shine light on the darkness in the family because none of them were strong enough or brave enough to do it for themselves. They're still hiding behind the family image, and they're still so concerned with protecting the family image instead of speaking the truth and holding each other accountable. It is absolutely disappointing, but it is who they are. And it's disappointing that they've chosen to shame me for speaking out about the narcissistic abuse that I've faced at the hands of the man that I married, in addition to my own father. But I'm not surprised because it is who they are. They protect the darkness. They don't speak out about abuse. They don't speak out about the harms that take place within the family. They've always been that way, and I thought that that was normal until I started to raise myself. A lot of us have parents who never truly grew up. Narcissists never truly grow up. They're children. They're damaged children, and they're stuck in their childhood traumas. So with my father, him creating a false police report was his form of a temper tantrum. Him calling a mental health facility in order to get them to harass me because I'm speaking out about the narcissistic abuse I've faced. It's another form of a temper tantrum. He's a child who never grew up. He never addressed his childhood traumas. And so now as a grown man at 64 years old, he's choosing to bully his daughter. Now, the women in my family who have never chosen themselves, they never walked away from the marriage because for them, being married and having the title of being a wife is much better than being single and standing in your truth. Whenever you have women who idolize marriage, they care more about marriage than they care about themselves. They value title over truth. And whenever you have that dynamic, you have to be very careful. Those of us who grew up with mothers or female figures who never fully chose themselves, you know that growing up as a child, because you saw your mother not choose herself and not speak out about the abuse that she's faced, you weren't comfortable telling her everything that you went through as a child. Why? Because you know that she never chose herself. She never chose herself, and in not choosing herself, she didn't protect you. In a lot of cases, we saw how much our mothers were going through, and we chose to keep so much of our pain to ourselves. And listen, I've done the work of breaking the generational curse. It ends with me, and I cannot wait to be done with this divorce from this narcissistic man. I do not want any of my family around me or my future family because I've seen who they are. I see their characters. I want my children to speak up and speak truth. And I want them to know that they can come to me about anything at any time. I recently became a godmother to one of my friend's daughters, and just seeing her child and just seeing children in general, they deserve better. They deserve better adults around them. Anybody who has an issue with you speaking out about abuse that you faced, any type of abuse that you faced, be very careful. You don't want them around your children. They're going to encourage your child to be silent about the things that they go through. And that is not who you want around the next generation. And this entire series where I've talked about narcissistic abuse in particular, it thrives on silence. You're not going to notice it right away, and especially if it's normalized within your families, especially if you've been groomed to accept narcissistic abuse, you are not going to notice it. It'll take a while for it to click that this is what you've actually been dealing with all along. But once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you have to act accordingly. Now, we're already adults here, right? The damage is done. We can do better for those who come after us. And we should live in truth, and we should be comfortable speaking out truthfully. And anybody who pushes back and tries to shame you for speaking out about the abuse that you've faced, you need to understand that they're very likely hiding something themselves, whether it's something that happened to them or it's something that they've done to others. If you take away nothing else from the series, I hope that you take away how dangerous it is to have people around you who are silent about narcissistic abuse. And it's so silent, it is so discreet, but it is dangerous. If you're in a similar situation, I hope that you make the decision that the abuse ends with you. It ends with us. Remember your voice. Stay healthy and wealthy.